Welcome to this practice of mindful eating. My name is Jeanette from Mindful Dexter. To do this practice, you'll want to have just a few things on hand. One is a glass of water, and for a food item, you can really work with whatever you have on hand. You truly only need like one small bite of food, but if you want to have a few choices on hand, here are a few that I would recommend. Maybe a little bit of dark chocolate, just a small square will do. Perhaps something savory like a small cracker or a little bit of bread, a bit of fresh fruit, and a napkin wouldn't hurt either, and no points deducted if yours is not linen like this one. So if you haven't gotten these items in your vicinity yet, now is a good time to do that. And if you're new to mindfulness and are not quite sure what that is, a simple way of thinking about it is that it means paying attention on purpose to the present moment without judgment. And there are lots of reasons why mindfulness is a helpful cognitive skill to work on. One of them is just to find a little more ease regardless of what life throws at you, and a little more clarity and intention about how to respond to our experiences. And one of the most common and effective ways to develop your mindfulness skill is through something we call mindfulness meditation. Today, though, is a little bit different than what we might usually do at Mindful Dexter, because we're going to practice mindfulness through this experience of mindful eating. So to get started, I want to invite you to think about a typical day for you, maybe even in the last week or so, and consider if there were any meals where you ate your food without doing something else at the same time. So all of us, have this happen, right? Where we often automatically try to fit in lots of other things while we're eating. Maybe you eat lunch at your desk while you're working, or you eat while you're reading stuff on your iPad or your phone, or maybe you're texting a friend or watching TV. Maybe you're just talking with the people that you're eating with, friends or family. Even a positive thing like that can often take us out of the present moment. And it can make this experience of eating sometimes less pleasurable and for sure less memorable. So if that is you, know that you're totally normal. And for this practice today, we're going to kind of experiment with intentionally shifting away from that pattern, even if it's just for a short while. And I think you'll find it interesting how this is probably going to feel quite a bit different from what you might usually experience when we eat. Before we do it, I want to give you 4 reasons why this practice is helpful. One good reason is eating in a more mindful way is a really good way to practice mindfulness, even if you don't think of yourself as a meditator. So if your mind is super active and jumpy, it can sometimes feel pretty chaotic, I guess, to try to sit down and clear your head, right? I know I've been there. So this way of practicing mindfulness through what we eat can be a great way to start a practice of mindfulness if you're not ready to do that, that kind of more formal meditation practice, or during a time when you just don't feel like you can sit still and quiet your mind. Another reason is you got to eat anyway, right? It's something that you're already doing, and you can really only benefit from doing it mindfully. So it's not something you got to fit into your day or try to prioritize. You're already doing it. You're already eating. And this way of approaching food, even if you practice it for just one bite of a meal, can be beneficial. Sometimes that one bite or that one sip is just enough to reset and reground yourself. Now, besides being a good way to practice that skill of being fully present in the current moment, mindful eating also has some other benefits. One is it can help us to be more perceptive about when we're full, right? And we've all probably could, stand to increase that skill. And then finally, another one I want to leave you with is that it can help us help us pay more attention about what food choices we are making, just because we're noticing more fully what we're putting into our bodies. So let's go ahead and get to it. You can go ahead and get comfortable in your seat. You'll want to have that food item or food items nearby, the foods that you chose. And your hands can rest comfortably in your lap for now. Just settle into your body and your breath. And I'm going to invite you to go ahead and close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. Or if that's not comfortable, you can keep them slightly open, but rest your vision on something neutral in the room, something that's not moving, maybe a space on the floor or the table in front of you. And with your eyes closed or in a neutral place, just take a moment here in this time of stillness to think about the food or the foods, plural maybe, that you gathered for this practice. Now, if there's more than one food that you prepared ahead of time for this practice, in your mind, just think about which one of those items you want to work with first. It doesn't matter which one you pick. And the important thing is you don't need to see the food to make the decision or to call it to mind. Really, you're just mentally making a note of the food that you're going to start with. Okay, and without looking at that food, so keeping your eyes closed or your gaze averted to a neutral place, just see if you can picture that food in your mind's eye. And as you do that, notice what qualities of the food you observe when you call it to mind. Maybe you're picturing its color or its texture or some other quality about it. So just for the next 10 or 15 seconds or so. And now when you're ready, you can open your eyes if they were closed and let your vision focus on that food item in front of you, the item that you were picturing. And now take it in visually. Notice what it looks like in real life. See if you can observe different qualities of its color. Notice if the light shines differently on it in different places. Notice if there are maybe some smooth places or rough places. Maybe you notice imperfections. You might even pretend that you've just landed on this planet and you've never seen an object like this, and you are just gathering whatever facts you can about it by looking at it. And maybe notice here whether the item looks different to you in real life than what you pictured a few minutes ago when you were just thinking about that food item in your mind. And now for the next 15 or 20 seconds, also take a moment to consider that object's history. So I don't know what food item you chose, but whatever item you're looking at, somebody somewhere probably planted something to help produce what you are looking at. So consider maybe the hands that cultivated the plants that produced the ingredients needed for this food. Maybe consider the natural elements that were involved too. The sunlight that had to shine on the plants. Maybe the water that helped them to grow. Consider the people who played a role in harvesting and transporting and packaging and selling something in order for this food to arrive at this place in front of you at this time. And now when you're ready, you can very carefully, very slowly pick the object up and let it rest there in your hand. Notice what the food item feels like in your hand. See what you can notice about its texture and its temperature. Maybe its weight. Notice any thoughts you might be having as you look at the object. Maybe you notice some sensations in your mouth that might be signaling to you that you wouldn't mind tasting that object. Maybe you're even wondering if all this observation is necessary. Or maybe you're wondering how long this is going to take. So just notice those thoughts, and as best you can, try not to judge or evaluate them. And then just bring your attention back to the object. Now, in a few seconds, I'm going to tell you when it's time to bring the object up close to your nose. Before we do that, if you want to, sometimes people find it helpful to close their eyes during this part, if that maybe helps you to minimize distractions. So you can do that if you like. And then when you're ready, you can very slowly bring the object to your nose. And for now, just hold the object close to your nose and breathe. Take a slow inhale and see what you notice about the scent. If there's even anything to notice, depending on the item that you have, there might be a very strong scent or maybe no scent. So whatever you notice is the right thing to notice. And also notice again what's happening in your mouth if your salivary glands are kind of going gangbusters here, or if they're not. So just observing whatever experience or sensation presents itself in this moment right now. And then when you're ready, you can slowly open your mouth and place the object on your tongue, but don't chew or swallow just yet. Just let it rest in your mouth and notice everything that happens over the next maybe 20 seconds or so. Maybe you experience a very strong desire to chew. Maybe your mouth is really salivating now. Maybe you notice some feelings of impatience. Maybe the food item you chose is already, without you even chewing or swallowing, it's already starting to kind of break down. And now go ahead and begin to chew very slowly and intentionally. Again, not swallowing just yet, just noticing as you chew the taste, noticing the way the object moves around in your mouth in response to the chewing motion of your jaw. Noticing the texture here, maybe even the changes in the texture and the taste as you chew. So go ahead and chew several more times here for the next 10 or 15 seconds and just send all of your awareness to those sensations of chewing. Okay, and when you're ready, you can begin to swallow very slowly and see if you can feel the bits of food as the muscles in your throat move them down toward your stomach, kind of letting your attention follow that whole process. See if you can notice the point at which you lose the ability to detect the food as you finish swallowing. And now before we do anything else, take 15 or 20 seconds here just to notice what your mouth feels now that the food is gone. And now with very patient and slow movement, when you're ready, you can reach for your water. And as best you can, notice everything about that process. Notice what the glass feels like in your hand. Notice its temperature, whether the surface of the glass is moist or dry, and whether the glass itself is heavy or maybe not so much. And with a very slow, very deliberate movement, go ahead and raise the glass to your lips and take a small sip of water. And just like before, as you swallow, see if you can let your attention follow that path of the water as it moves down your throat. See if you can detect the point at which you no longer feel the water. And now let's pause another 15 seconds or so here with nothing in your mouth. Now, if you have more than one food item that you've prepared for this practice, if you want to, you can go through these same steps that we just completed with whatever item you want to choose next. And I won't guide you through this part multiple times, but what I am going to do is put the process on the screen here for you. And you can pause the video if you want to do this as many times as you want, with as many food items as you want. So just to run through the checklist quickly, you'll start with a mental observance and notice what you see in your mind's eye when you close your eyes and think of the food item. Do that for maybe 15 seconds. Then a visual observance. You'll open your eyes and see what qualities you notice with your vision for maybe 15 seconds. And then the third step is a tactile observance. Notice what you feel when you pick the item up and hold it. And next, you'll observe its scent. And then when you're ready, the final process is a very slow and intentional series of steps, tasting, chewing, and swallowing the food. And just like before, if you like, you can follow that with a similar experience of paying close attention as you take a sip of water. So if you like, you can pause the video now to repeat this process, or you can just let the video continue to play to move on. So over time, this practice will help you get more skilled at observing and maybe even feeling curious about the feelings or observations you experience and how they change, both with regard to food and other things as well. You might find that this process or this series of steps or habits can help you become more aware of all sorts of sensory input that you have. And you might consider how you could bring some of these practices into your routine of mealtime. One idea that I want to share with you that has helped me to kind of slow down a bit is to use what's called the 5 contemplations. And in some traditions, this is almost a form of grace before a meal. And it's pretty simple. It's just 5 statements that you could maybe read or mentally walk through before you eat something. And they go like this. The food is the gift of the whole universe, the earth, the sky, and much hard work. May we eat in mindfulness so as to nourish our gratitude. May we transform our unskillful states of mind and learn to eat with moderation. May we take only foods that nourish us and prevent illness. And then the last one is we accept this food to realize the path of understanding, love, and joy. Sometimes just reading those things is enough to help me to kind of reground and reset. So that might be true for you as well. I hope that this practice has been helpful. Thanks for taking part, and I wish you the very best on your journey as you seek to eat and live mindfully.